Hey guys, in today's video you will meet Zephyrine Lancaster, a woman who abandoned her faith in childhood because of abuse and who, after coughing up blood and dying, discovered a shocking truth. Religions are lying about what happens after death. What she saw on the other side will give you goosebumps. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and comment here from which city you are watching. Let's do it, because this story will blow your mind. I was heading home after an exhausting day at work, with the city of New Orleans vibrating with a chaotic rhythm that seemed to foreshadow something dark. Dusk painted the streets in orange tones, but for me, the world was reduced to an unsettling and inexplicable sensation. As I sat down to dinner, as I bit into a simple sandwich, a metallic taste invaded my mouth, bringing with it a disconcerting omen. It can't be, I thought, trying to ignore the signal that my body insisted on sending me. Within moments, a violent cough surprised me, and soon, the plate transformed into a macabre scene, stained with red. Despair set in like an unwelcome visitor, making me wonder if something terrible was about to happen. Desperate, I stammered as I dialed the number of Victor, my loyal friend, whose voice always calmed me in moments of greatest distress. "Victor, it's urgent. I'm feeling something very wrong," I managed to say, my voice shaking and broken by pain and panic. Deep down, a feeling of helplessness and fear came over me, as the once familiar environment became a battlefield between life and death. Each second seemed to lengthen, amplifying the terror of not knowing what was coming. Time unfolded in a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and sensations, the confusion between the body that failed and the mind that struggled to accept reality. I felt like every cell was screaming for help, but at the same time a silent restlessness made me wonder if this was just the beginning of a bigger nightmare, where the boundaries between life and death became too tenuous to ignore. Amidst the chaos, the taste of blood persisted, marking that moment as the beginning of a journey that would change my existence forever. The feeling of despair intensified with every second. As the violent cough continued to rack me, it felt as if time had slowed down, each beat of my heart echoing amidst the chaos. The pain spread across my chest and the difficulty in breathing became increasingly distressing. "I can't take it anymore," I muttered to myself, as I struggled to find a breath that seemed to have disappeared. In the midst of this whirlwind of sensations, Victor remained on the phone, his voice trying to sound calm, even when the internal alarm was going off. "Zephyrine, stay with me. I'm calling an ambulance right now. Hold on tight, please." His words were a thin thread of hope in the midst of the storm. Soon the shrill sound of sirens invaded the night, and I realized that there was no longer any way to escape reality. In the blink of an eye, I was placed on a stretcher, medical professionals rushing around, exchanging worried looks and quick orders. Inside the vehicle, the constant vibration and the strong smell of disinfectant mixed with the metallic taste that no longer left me. The red and blue lights reflected off the windows, creating a scene that seemed to distort the very notion of time and space. Every movement felt heavy, almost surreal, as if gravity had become unrelenting. Inside the ambulance, between the rhythmic sound of the heart monitor and the urgent instructions of the paramedics, a deep feeling of helplessness took over. "You're going to be fine, we just need to stabilize you," a calm but firm voice said as they adjusted the tubes and monitored my vitals. However, no matter how much they tried to alleviate the physical suffering, my insides sank into an abyss of panic and uncertainty, where life and death danced in a relentless choreography. Reality was falling apart into fragments, and every second that passed seemed to bring me closer to the threshold between existing and disappearing. As the agony seemed to reach its peak, an indescribable sensation began to creep in amidst the despair. In the blink of an eye, I felt my consciousness detach from my body, as if floating above the chaos unfolding below. I looked at myself from an almost ethereal perspective, observing the hospital's confusing environment in bewilderment. The sounds became distorted and, at the same time, intensely clear, while the faces of the doctors and nurses turned into indistinct shadows. In this state of near omniscience, the voice of Ethan Montgomery, The calm-eyed doctor echoed through the tumult, saying with surprising calm, "You're fighting, Zephyrin, we're here with you." From that moment on, the scene transformed into a mixture of reality and dream, where time seemed to lose its linearity. I felt a welcoming presence, as if a vibrant, comforting energy had infiltrated every fiber of my being. In a silent exchange, I was able to perceive that the essence of the divine was manifesting itself in the form of light and unconditional love, surrounding me completely. In the midst of this whirlwind of sensations, I heard a faint and serene whisper, "You are not alone, there will always be redemption, there will always be love." The voice did not belong to any human being, but it was filled with a compassion that surpassed any earthly experience. Around me, the comforting figure of Amelia Hawthorne stood out, with her soft gestures and attentive gaze reinforcing the feeling that, even on that threshold, there was support and care. Between moments of pure disbelief and glimpses of unexpected peace, physical pain gave way to deep introspection, where each beat of my heart seemed to dialogue with the very essence of existence. It was as if I were in front of a portal, where fear and panic were replaced by an inexplicable feeling of belonging and imminent rebirth. In this ephemeral dimension, the touch of two warm hands on my chest marked the imminent return of my soul, a sign that that transcendent experience would not be in vain. As the transcendent experience unfolded, I was swept away by a wave of memories rising from the depths of my being. Suddenly, I found myself reliving the dark days of my childhood, those moments marked by fear and oppression in a home where faith was confused with abuse. The memory of muffled screams, silent tears, and the weight of an imposed religion invaded me with an overwhelming intensity. I felt as if the hospital walls turned into echoes of the past, where every sigh and every shadow reminded me of the loneliness and pain I carried for so many years. As the images of the past mixed with the faint light of the present, a soft voice cut through the silence of my mind, bringing unexpected relief. "Zephyrin, allow yourself to feel without judging yourself," whispered a figure emerging from the shadows, with a calm that contrasted with the inner turmoil. It was Lillian Rhodes, whose mysterious presence always conveyed a security I had never experienced. "Don't let old wounds define your future. Forgiveness starts within yourself," she continued, her words wrapped in a compassion that seemed to clear the darkness around her. The dialogue with Lillian was a balm for the soul, as if each sentence said that even in the deepest corners of suffering, there was a chance for redemption. I never imagined I could feel something so comforting, even while facing my worst demons, I confessed, my voice cracking with emotion. Lillian just smiled with a look that understood the weight of each invisible scar, and in that instant, the barrier between past and present began to fade. It was as if the shadows that had haunted me for years were slowly replaced by a soft, welcoming light that heralded a new beginning. Every word spoken and every memory relived became an invitation to accept and forgive. I realized that confronting my past was not a sign of weakness, but rather the first step towards freeing myself from the chains that held me back. And even though the pain didn't go away completely, I knew I now had the power to turn it into strength to move forward. Upon regaining consciousness, my surroundings seemed to have become a disjointed mosaic of reality and relief. I felt the roughness of the hospital bed against my skin as cold, white light filtered through the windows. The bustle of medical professionals approached, but suddenly the intensity of that comforting presence had faded. "Zephyrin, you're back, with us," Ethan Montgomery said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and concern as he adjusted the equipment monitoring my vitals. The sound of the monitors pulsed rhythmically, marking each beat of my heart, now full of questions and doubts. With my eyes still heavy, I observed the frenzy of the hospital, the hurried footsteps of the nurses, the whispered conversations, and the solemn touch of a friendly hand that sought to offer comfort. The feeling of having experienced something beyond the limits of existence clashed with the palpable coldness of the physical world. Amidst this maelstrom, Amelia Hawthorne approached, her presence exuding a calm that contrasted with the chaos around her. "You've been through a very intense experience, Zephyrin," she said softly, leaning in to offer support. It's normal to feel disoriented when returning from such a different place. His words were like a cloak that tried, even if briefly, to calm the storm that still raged inside me. As I struggled to reconcile the vivid memories of my transcendental journey with the palpable reality of every touch and sound, an internal conflict took hold. My mind was divided between the desire to relive that moment of love and light, and the urgent need to understand what it meant to be back. The panic that had gripped me had turned into a silent restlessness, where every heartbeat seemed to insist, "You are not complete." The hospital environment, with its cold colors and full of mechanical procedures, contrasted sharply with the feeling of warmth and peace that I had experienced moments before. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to absorb this new beginning, while the voices around me seemed to merge into a symphony of hope and reality. Even surrounded by the skepticism that the mind often imposes on the experience of the transcendent, I knew that the comforting touch, the encouraging voice, and the unwavering support of Ethan and Amelia were unmistakable signs that this second chance was real and precious. I felt a profound and unexpected transformation begin to blossom within me. It was as if, in the midst of chaos and pain, a spark of light awakened something that had been dormant for decades. Little by little, the feeling of emptiness began to give way to a comforting and vibrant energy. "I can feel a change happening," I murmured, almost in disbelief as a gentle calm seeped into every corner of my being. That night, as he rested in a hospital bed, memories of previous moments were intertwined with the hope of a new beginning. With each beat of my heart, I felt as if I was being filled with an inner strength capable of healing old wounds. In one of these moments of introspection, I heard Amelia's serene voice again, encouraging me with simple words. "Zephyrin, allow this light to guide you. You deserve to be reborn." His words sounded like a mantra, echoing and reinforcing the idea that this rebirth was not just physical, but essentially spiritual. As I talked to Amelia and Ethan, I realized I wasn't alone on this journey. I never imagined that after so long of pain I could feel something so pure and transformative, I confessed with teary eyes, as hope took root in me. Ethan, with his serene gaze, added, "Every scar tells a story, Zephyrin. This experience is the beginning of something new, where forgiveness and self-acceptance pave the way for healing." These exchanges, full of compassion, served as a balm for my soul, allowing me to recognize that true transformation began from the inside out. As the dawn light filled the room, I realized that the inner rebirth was a silent promise that the past would not determine the future. Amelia's comforting touch and Ethan's smiles acted as reminders that life was about starting over, even when obstacles seemed insurmountable. And so, with a renewed feeling of strength and courage, I decided to embrace this new stage, ready to face the challenges with a lighter heart and a mind open to love and redemption. As the following days unfolded, I felt the need to unite the fragments of my past with the new light that was emerging within me. Amid visits from friends and family at the hospital, Victor Sullivan's face appeared with words of encouragement and the insistence that I didn't need to carry the weight of old trauma alone. "Zephyrin, you have the strength of someone who has faced worse storms. Use this pain as a foundation to build something beautiful," he said, with a look that mixed compassion and firmness. Each conversation with Victor was like an invitation to revisit my wounds, but now with the courage to apply forgiveness to myself. Meanwhile, Lillian Rhodes, with her serene wisdom, led me through long conversations where the past was analyzed with the eyes of someone who knows the depths of the soul. "You are not defined by what you have suffered, but by what you choose to become," she stated with conviction, as she showed me that the marks of the past could be transformed into symbols of resilience. Our dialogues flowed through tears and shy smiles, making each painful memory a step towards acceptance. In the midst of this process, I found moments of introspection in which the hospital became a sanctuary for reuniting with my memories. During one of these reflections, as the distant sound of monitors served as a reminder of the pulse of life, I murmured to myself, "Today, I choose to forgive yesterday and embrace today." This silent statement echoed through the cold walls of the room, contrasting with the comforting warmth he felt internally. With each new conversation, each gesture of affection, and each word of encouragement, I was sewing a new emotional fabric where the past and the present met. It was as if I could finally look back without pain, recognizing the obstacles as an indispensable part of my journey. This reconciliation appeared not only as a cure but as a rebirth, where the weight of memories was transformed into a vital lesson for building a lighter and fuller future. The feeling of rebirth began to creep in subtly but undeniably as the days unfolded in a new cadence. I felt for the first time in a long time a lightness that seemed to emerge from the depths of my being, as if the scars of the past were slowly softening. During a silent morning, as the shy sun peeked through the bedroom windows, I heard my own voice echo in a whisper of self-knowledge. I deserve this new chance. I can reinvent myself. These words, simple and sincere, were the starting point for a healing process that revealed itself to be both physical and spiritual. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I looked at my reflection in the mirror and saw not just a survivor, but someone ready to rise from the ashes. Victor, who had always been a comforting presence, came closer and said softly, "Zephrine, you are blossoming, even though in your eyes it may seem like a silent rebirth. Allow yourself to feel this awakening." His words, full of empathy, echoed in my heart, reinforcing the idea that time and compassion were allies in this process. Meanwhile, Lillian Rhodes visited me with her enigmatic aura and words full of wisdom. "Inner rebirth is a silent miracle, Zephrine. Every step you take toward acceptance and forgiveness is a rebirth into your true essence." During one of these conversations, I felt that finally, the shadows that had obscured my path for so long were beginning to dissipate, giving way to a serene and promising light. The hospital environment, previously marked by panic and anguish, now seemed like a refuge where the soul could rebuild itself. In the midst of this process, moments of introspection became sacred. Every breath, every heartbeat, was a reminder that life, in its essence, always offered the opportunity to start over. And so, hand in hand with the hope and support of those around me, I felt that a new chapter was beginning, where inner rebirth would be the basis for all future transformations. As the days transformed into a new reality, the inner rebirth I felt took on defined contours, marking the beginning of a journey of transformation that transcended the mere physical aspect of recovery. With each awakening, the painful memories of the past were gently reconnected with the hope of a different future, where self-love and acceptance became the pillars of my existence. I, Zephrine Lancaster, found the strength to forgive myself, each breath becoming a tribute to my resilience. At this stage, Victor Sullivan appeared as a vital link, his words of encouragement resonating with depth. "You are rebuilding yourself, Zephrine. Every scar is proof that you survived and that now is the time to flourish." In long conversations with Lillian Rhodes, I discovered that forgiveness was not just for the past, but a gift that I offered myself every day. She said with her serene voice and full of wisdom, "Rebirth is a miracle that manifests itself when you free yourself from the chains that bind you to the past. Let the light guide your steps." These words resonated with me, and along with the constant support of Ethan Montgomery, who remained vigilant and compassionate, I felt that the new life that was emerging was truly mine. Moments of introspection have become sacred. Every look in the mirror, every beat of my heart revealed the beauty of a new beginning. The soft light of dawn, which previously barely penetrated the room, now symbolized the promise of better days. While the pain left room for hope, I felt that I was finally ready to embrace my new existence, marked not by fear but by the knowledge that my journey of transformation had just begun. As the new routine took hold, I felt a definitive transformation beginning to take over me. The days, once dark and filled with pain, now pulsed with invigorating energy. One autumn morning, as the first rays of sunlight painted the room with warm tones, Victor approached with a serene smile and said, "Zephrine, you are rising." Each challenge overcome is a step towards your true freedom. His words penetrated deep, echoing in the stillness of that environment, and made me believe that, finally, there was a new meaning to every breath. Sitting by the window, I watched the city of New Orleans awaken, its vibrant streets contrasting with the traumas of the past. I felt a lightness I hadn't known in a long time, and for the first time, I experienced the sensation of ascending, not just physically, but in spirit. Lillian, always with her soft voice and full of wisdom, approached for a sincere conversation. Transformation is an ongoing process, Zephyrin. Today you rise with the strength of all your experiences. It's not about forgetting, but about learning and reinventing yourself. His words blended with the distant sound of traffic, creating a symphony of renewal and hope. As I walked through the hospital hallways, accompanied by Amelia, I felt the unwavering support of those who had been instrumental in my journey. You are living proof that darkness can be overcome by light, Amelia commented, her eyes shining with emotion. With each step, the weight of the past became lighter, and the certainty of a future full of possibilities invaded me. The touch of each word, the embrace of each gesture, made me feel not just recovered, but truly reborn. At the end of the day, as the night settled in with its peculiar calm, I realized that I had reached a new level of existence. The transformation was not an end point, but the beginning of a continuous ascension, where with each challenge, with each achievement, I reinvented myself and grew stronger. The inner voice that was once silenced by fear now sang a melody of freedom and resilience, celebrating the beauty of being imperfect and yet able to fly. As the new routine took hold, I felt a definitive transformation beginning to take over me. The days, once dark and filled with pain, now pulsed with an invigorating energy full of possibilities. On a clear morning, with the sun shyly peeking through the hospital windows, Victor approached with a serene smile and said, "Zephyrin, you are rising. Each challenge overcome is a step towards your true freedom." His words penetrated deeply, echoing in the calm of that environment, and making me believe that each breath carried a new meaning, a new beginning that would transcend the suffering of the past. Sitting by the window, I watched New Orleans awaken, its vibrant streets contrasting with the shadows that once marked my existence. The city, with its sounds and colors, seemed to conspire to remind me that life is always reborn even after the darkest moments. Lillian, with her enigmatic presence and voice filled with wisdom, approached and said, "Transformation is an ongoing process, Zephyrin. Today you rise with the strength of all your experiences. Remember, it's not about forgetting, it's about learning and reinventing yourself." His words mixed with the soft murmur of the environment, composing a symphony of renewal that enveloped. As I walked through the hospital hallways accompanied by Amelia, I felt the unwavering support of those who had been pillars of my journey. "You are living proof that darkness can be overcome by light," commented Amelia, her eyes full of emotion, reinforcing the certainty that, with each step, I was rebuilding myself. With each gesture and word of affection, the weight of the past became lighter, and the promise of a future full of possibilities became increasingly tangible. At the end of the day, when the night settled in with its peculiar calm, I realized that this transformation was not an end point, but the beginning of a continuous ascension. My heart, which previously beat in time with fear, now followed the rhythm of a new melody, that of forgiveness, acceptance, and hope. This profound change, marked by the union of experiences and the support of those who loved me, affirmed that I was finally ready to embrace my new existence. As the night approached, I felt a new chapter opening before me, full of possibilities that surpassed the limits of what I had already experienced. By leaving behind the moments of pain and rebirth, I envisioned a future where each dawn would be an opportunity to rewrite my story, to cultivate hope, and to embrace life with a light heart. Walking through the hospital corridors with the gentle, early morning breeze sneaking through the cracks in the windows, I felt the darkness dissipate, giving way to a faint but persistent glow that promised to illuminate every corner of my existence. Talking to those who accompanied me on this journey, I realized that it wasn't just about surviving, but about transforming each scar into a symbol of resilience. Victor, in his calm and encouraging voice, commented as he held my hand, "This is the beginning of something great, Zephyrin. Today, you have freed yourself from the past and can now build a future where happiness is not just a distant dream." His words, filled with a sincerity that warmed the soul, resonated with the strength of a new dawn. Lillian, with her gaze that seemed to see beyond appearances, added in a soft tone, "The new chapter that begins does not erase the story you lived but enhances it. Each challenge overcome, each tear shed contributes to the greatness of who you have become." And so, between complicit looks and sincere hugs, I realized that rebirth was not the end of an era, but the beginning of a continuous journey, where self-love and the courage to forgive became the solid foundations of a new existence. As the Tudin-Ash city of New Orleans woke up to a new day, I felt prepared to face the challenges and beauty that the future held. The past, with all its wounds and teachings, became the foundation on which I would build a full, meaningful life. Now, with the echoes of my transformation still resonating within me, the certainty that I can be happy and live intensely was consolidated with each beat of my heart. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.